It's time for your board game dessert, folks. It's time for Game Pie. Game Pie is when Mandy and I serve up a selection of games based on our whims and excellent taste because we hate ranking things and we love delicious baked goods. Here
Mhm.
we are serving it up. Mandy, today's Game Pie is full of forest games.
Yay.
Okay, when we said forest games earlier, you did like a spooky sound and I thought it was hilarious. And now you're going, yay. On camera, you're like, yay, being all cute. Whatever.
I know, right? At first it was, ooh, spooky forest. Now I'm all like, yay, hearts.
So that's right, folks. We have a bunch of games with a forest setting. Why not? I mean, cozy is in, pastoral is in, nature is in. Now, we asked you what were some of your forest games so
Mm.
we can bring those up first. I'll give you a few. Thank you so much for everybody who chimed in on social or on our Board Game Geek Guild thread.
Yeah.
Josh K brought up Cascadia right away. Great choice. Jimmy mentioned Mystic Vale. Bitoku. I didn't think about
Mm.
Bitoku. That is a very
Yeah, it
fantasy
does fit.
thing. And Living Forest. It's in the name.
Nice.
Now, Jimmy also brought up Applejack, which I would suggest is not a forest game.
It almost made my list, so
It's an orchard game. Orchards and
that are
forests, not the same thing.
but they could be in the forest.
An orchard in the forest? Sure. Orchard forest. Can't wait for that one. Now, I will say we should have called this forest game pie that isn't arboretum because I feel like arboretum is such
Uh,
an with
sure.
respect, such an obvious one because it's a phenomenal game
Yeah.
and it's all about building your forest. But that said, a few people in the guild did mention arboretum. I'm going to skip you all over. Sorry. Christian
Wow.
did mention though Bosk and Fox in the
Yep.
Forest.
Very
Again,
nice.
in the name, Fox in the Forest, excellent two-player trick-taking game. Two-player
Mhm.
trick-taking. It works. And finally, Nicole brought up Cacao.
Okay.
Cool. Cocoa
Yes, good
Forest.
choice.
I allow it. And this one, I love that Nicole brought this one up because I feel like it's a game that's flown a little under the radar. Scribbly Gum.
I don't know this game at
And
all.
it is a Phil Walker Harding designed roll and write game about the gum
Oh.
trees and the little worms
Ah.
that worm their way through and create little trails through the gum trees in
Wait,
Australia.
isn't there a song? Oh yeah, Kookaburra sits in the old gum tree, Mary, Mary, king of the bushes he. Love Kookaburra, gay your life must be. Ha ha ha. You know that song, right?
I
You don't
very
know
much
that
do
song?
not know that song. That is the first absolutely delightful introduction I've had to that song.
Wait a please say whether you're from Australia, New Zealand, Canada, because I mean, now I'm trying to remember where I heard that song, but there's a Kookaburra song, and that was it. And that's how I know about gum trees because of that song. Okay, I thought that was a universal song. Apparently, I was
I mean,
incorrect.
maybe I'm out of the loop, but I never heard it before.
Oh my Nicole saved me. I know you listened to the podcast.
With that
Oh.
sung, Mandy, what is your first slice of forest pie?
Sure. So I'm going to jump right in with Keystone, North America. I think this fits the theme
I'll allow
ish.
it. I think it fits in the way Cascadia does. You know, it's
Sure.
got
It has animals
foresty
and
elements.
forest. Exactly. Forest element. There are terrain, and forest is one of them in the
And
game.
I
And I
mean,
mean,
it's closer to Target than some of the upcoming ones I just peeked at. So
okay,
move
hold on.
along.
Let's just yeah. So Keystone, North America. If you haven't played it, very straight. It's a straightforward rules game, but like it is super thinky, right? Because you're trying to get, your animal cards in a certain sequence of numbers in columns and rows, and they score basically based on that and having certain symbols, terrains, in these rows and columns. I'm doing a very kind of high level overview of that, but Keystone North America fits the theme, and it's also a very good game. One. I can't believe I'm saying this for a third time that I enjoy playing solo. And they are launching, I think right now there's a Kickstarter for like the new version and they've
Ooh,
added to the campaign for the solo play. Yeah.
Oh, you and your I'm not a solo gamer.
Hanging
Okay.
my head and oh dear. Okay, Suzanne, what about you? Your first slice of
My
forest
first
pie.
slice of forest game pie has it in the name, The Forest of Tataraba. This is
Oh,
actually a Japanese game published by Hobby Japan, and it is a worker placement game all about uh, well, ultimately, you're trying to build actually like a steel factory, but you have to maintain balance with the surrounding forest. And a lot of the game is about tree progression and forest progression. You've got amazing little tree wooden bits. There is a kind of spread and a growth mechanism that's really cool that happens in between your worker placement. And that's what it's really about. So even it's this interesting balance about the mechanical and the natural. And it's a really delightful worker placement game. Forest of Tataraba.
not one that I know, but it sounds rather nice. So I'll have to check that one out. My second slice of forest game pie, well, I think it counts, and that is creature comforts. And I say counts because
I
it
totally
does.
am on board with this.
Okay, this actually it does take place in a forest, and it does happen to have creatures of the forest in the game, and the board indicates that. And it's typical type of board, yeah, where you have actions at different parts of the forest, and there are seasons that are involved. Depending on the season, things will happen. And well, Roberta, Canadian designer, gotta throw some of that Canadian love on there. So, Creature Comforts, if you haven't played it, it's super cute and it's a really nice game.
Love it. Next up for me, you know me, folks. I'm going to work in a roll and write if I can every time. And this one was an easy one to include Blatterraschen. Blatterraschen is a roll and write game designed by the amazing Paolo Mori. It really lives up to that design pedigree. It includes 4 different sheets, each with a different scoring puzzle. So each sheet plays totally differently, and each sheet has a grid and all the different squares are filled with trees and bugs and birds and flowers, all forest related. But each sheet is a season as well, which is just so charming. So you have a winter season sheet or a fall season sheet, all taking you through journey through the forest. And you're rolling dice and you're boxing in different zones, and then the things that you manage to capture in those boxes will score you points. It is very clever, it's very straightforward, but the actual play is very thoughtful. I love this roll and write game. A little under the radar because I don't think it was really easy to get when it first launched in the US, and now that it's easier to get, it's, the falling leaves or rustling leaves, that's what I think
Rustling
it's
Leaves, I
called.
think. Yes, yes.
People move on, right? So, Blood Russian, definitely worth a look. It's phenomenal.
Oh, I know. I played this a lot at a convention that I go to annually, and this was like the game of the convention. I think I played all the seasons and taught everybody all the seasons.
Yeah, it's
So
really
that was thanks to you because you were the one who recommended this. So I second that. Very good. My third slice of forest pie, well, it's a bit of a stretch, but we're gonna do it, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. Herbaceous, heyo! It's a game with green leafy things that could be found in a forest. Yeah. Um, it's a
For
stretch,
those
but we're
of
gonna
you
make it
just
work.
listening and not watching the video, I'm trying
There's a
to
lot of
support my head with the weight of its disappointment.
there's a lot of cringe going on right now.
To be
So
clear, Herbaceous is a lovely game. It has nothing to do with the game itself.
I thought it could be foresty. So it's a card game. I guess it's more of a garden game, but you can have gardens in forests, so we're gonna make that work. Natural gardens, and
Fair enough.
you're trying to set collection and try to get certain types of plants together, different, same, and that sort of thing, and you get points based on that. And I think is that's the one with it's like you get like a it's not a muffin. There's a card
It's a biscuit.
lemonade, a
You get the
biscuit.
biscuit.
That's it. You get the biscuit. I feel like that has a totally different connotation that I'm thinking. Doesn't matter. In this game, it is wholesome fun, herbaceous.
Good game. Well,
Okay,
anyway, moving on.
let's just move on.
Yeah. Next up for me is a game called Waldmeister. Waldmeister is published by Clemens Gerhards, which is a German publisher that specializes in abstract games with beautiful wooden production. I love Clemens Gerhards games, and you can order them online if you're not in Europe. That's how I get them. I order in the US, I order from a site called Wooden Wagon. And in Waldmeister, you have a bunch of green pegs that represent trees. Some are tall, some are short, some are light, some are dark. Now, that is similar to a game called Quarto that is one of my all-time favorite little
Mm,
abstract games as well, and that's what first, really caught my eye with Waldmeister. In this one, you are moving your pegs around, and ultimately at the end of the game, one player is going to score color and one player is going to score height. And so you're maneuvering your pegs in straight rows until they get blocked and all this other stuff. Very clever abstract game, beautiful production, and it has it looks like a little modern forest with the different colored pegs, even though they're just little
nice.
cylinders, but because it's like if a modernist designed a wooden forest, this is what it would look like. So that's Waldmeister.
Okay, I feel like you've mentioned this to me before, not necessarily on the podcast, so it sounds lovely and it fits the theme so well. Well, my last slice of pie, I actually had it was like a couple that I had here, and I'm actually gonna switch it out at the last minute. Would be Village Green. Okay, it says Village Green,
Meaty.
but what?
Oh, I love you, Mandy. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay, well, it was between that or Azul Queen's Garden. Ooh,
Oh, geez, Louise. Okay, yeah, just go with it. Go with Village Green. Fine.
I'm saying that's what I'm saying. Say less, right? Like it just doesn't even matter. But I'm gonna make it work. Y'all listen to me. You know how I operate. So Village Green. It's in the title. Green, greenery. We're gonna go with that. It's another card game where you have a tableau, and depending on where cards are placed, will depend on how you're gonna score certain elements. So you're gonna want certain things beside other cards, not beside other cards, because you may not score it or score it depending on what it's beside. So I played this game. Well, look at that. Another game that I played solo that I rather enjoyed. I don't know why it made me think of forest. It really isn't a forest game now that I think about it, but it has greenery. So guess what? We're making it work. We'll
Yeah,
leave it
it's
at that.
really a garden game, but okay.
It's a
Again, I love you, Mandy. I
I know
accept
you'll
you for
allow
who
it.
you
So
are.
Village Green, it's a stretch, but guess what? It's Mandi. You all know how that goes. It's a Mandi game.
All right. Well, my final slice of forest
All
game
right.
pie is a game called Forest Shuffle.
Okay. Say less. Okay.
Forest Shuffle is a newer game I am absolutely enamored with. I can't get enough of it. I'm in like 3 rounds of it on Board Game Arena right
Wow.
now. I have like 3 simultaneous games of it. I love Forest Shuffle that much. It's just a card game. You got cards that represent trees, and then you got cards that represent everything else that you can get in a forest. They are either top and bottom or side to side, so multi-use cards. The cards are also the economy. To play cards, you need to pay cards. And at the end of the game, you're trying to build synergy and gain points for the forest, depending on how you place your cards. Some will go over the trees, under the trees, depending on how you tuck them. It is simple. It is genius. It is delightful. And you really do feel like you're building your forest. The art is lovely. So at the end, you've got all these trees with butterflies floating on top or little piles of moss and mushrooms underneath. It is a wonderful game. And it's a wonderful actual forest game. That's Forest Shuffle. Now, a couple of you out there also mentioned Forest Shuffle as
Yeah.
well. You mentioned Arboretum. Um, Wanted to acknowledge that as well, so that I wasn't the only one that came up with Forest Shuffle. I just skipped you over because I knew I had it on my list.
I've heard a lot of people say this is a really good one. I haven't played it yet. But yes, it's one that I definitely want to try at some
It
point.
went out of print. They've got an expansion coming and a reprint coming. As soon as it comes in, Mandy, we got to get you this game because it
Oh, yeah,
is
absolutely.
real good.
I've heard great things. Mhm.
So there you have it. That was our mostly forest game pie. Next episode, heyo, Mandy, you came up with this idea and I love it. Do you want to?
Oh, yes! Sorry, I had a brain fart there for a moment. I was like, and what was that idea I came up with again? Oh, yes, that's right. Campaign slash legacy games.
Right. Yep. So games that have a campaign or legacy element, we went ahead and tossed in legacy because there's just not
Yeah.
that many legacy games out there. So
Right.
include it. But yeah, games that have a campaign, an ongoing transformative element as you go, growing story, growing elements, however you want to look at that. So that will be the next game pie. If you want to share your favorite campaign or legacy games with us, you can do that in a number of ways, including emailing us with your thoughts if you want to keep it a little more private at saltandsassgames@gmail.com. We love hearing from you in email. Or you can join us on our Board Game Geek Guild in our episode thread. That's Guild 4131 on boardgamegeek.com. And you can chime in with all of your favorite campaign games there. Or you can always hit us up on the social media sites as well. Right, Mandy?
Absolutely. You might even be watching us for this game pie on the YouTube, and we're also on Twitch at Salt and Sass Games. That's Salt and Sass Games. I realize I probably should change this, so I will. So you won't see the flashy little thing anymore, but we are on. I can't believe I'm saying this. We are on X, formerly known as Twitter.
No.
I know, I'm sorry, but I feel like it's time. I know. So X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, what else is there? Oh my goodness. Blue Sky, all the socials. You'll find me at 613 Mandy. That's Mandy with an I. How about you, Suzanne?
You can reach me on all of those sites at 425 Suzanne. As we go through the next weeks headed into the summer, I hope that you are having a great time, that you are staying hydrated and playing a lot of games. We'll see you next time.
This episode was sponsored by Druid City Games, where player experience comes first. Check out all of their great games at druidcitygames.com.